Why were you sent to the principal's office as a kid? Running up the wall of the classroom to do a backflip when my foot goes all the way through the wall. After dislodging myself, I quickly cooked up a story that we had been moving folding chairs when I tripped and put a leg through the well, and somehow convinced almost everyone to go along with it until someone, we'll call her Heidi, because that is her real name, cracked under the principal's questioning and told the truth. So not only did I, but all of my fellow students that I convinced to lie got into serious crap the next day. You learned a harsh truth, my friend. There will always be someone there to sell you out. I watched a kid do the combination on his locker, waited for him to leave, then took his lock and put a different one on. One of my friends stole my lock for about a month. I always locked my backpack in someone else's locker when I had to change for gym. Then one day he just put it back where I'd left it a month before as if nothing happened. My mom didn't like us drinking soda, so she would mix seltzer water with juice and put it in our school lunches. One day in 4th grade I opened up my lunchbox and took out my drink, which happened to be an apple juice seltzer combo. It was always kind of fizzy at the top when I would first take it out of my lunchbox, and this girl at my table laughed and asked if I was drinking beer. It didn't even cross my mind that the girl may have been serious, so I thought I was joking back with her when I told her my mom doesn't like us drinking soda and gives us beer instead. She told the principal, and that was the first time I ever had to go to the principal's office. I sat there and cried the whole time. The best part of the whole thing is that my parents don't drink at all, and the principal knew this, but he still had to call my mom and ask if she had been sending me to school with beer in my lunchbox. Frick that snitching sea of girl. Some 6th graders weren't paying attention in math class, so they had me, a 2nd grader, come down to the office to do a multiplication contest with them. I won and got chocolate. Wrecked. In 5th grade we learned how to play recorder. One day, on the walk to music class, I put a pencil into the end of my recorder and it got stuck. As I feverishly swung the recorder around to unstick the pencil, it flew out across the hall and literally stuck in a classmate's head. The principal didn't believe it was an accident, as if I practiced shooting pencils out of recorders at innocent people's heads in my spare time. TLDR. Accidentally stabbed a classmate in the head with a Dixon Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga pencils were more precious than diamonds. I still get a girl boner thinking about that smooth graphite and perfect eraser. I loved how licking the point would make the marks so dark and crisp. In 6th grade one day my mom put a pear in my lunch. One of my dumber friends asked why I was eating a raw potato. I told him he was freaking retarded, and the gym teacher overheard me and I got sent to the office. You're still a moron, Adam. Shout out to all my pear. Setting of a smock album in class a short time after our old school building burned down. He did not appreciate my sense of humor. Joke so dark it's almost dawn. I once forged my 4th grade teacher's signature, poorly, might I add, to get on the ballot for student council. Guess I'm a natural born politician. For some reason, I imagine you just wrote Miss or Mr. because that's what everyone calls the teacher. I once got sent to the principal's office for wearing adult underwear. My thong was sticking out of my pants a little. I imagine once you got to the principal's office he said, "You've been a very naughty girl. I'm going to have to call your parents," and you said, "No, please Mr. Abernathy, I'll do anything if you promise not to call my parents," and it turned into a weird cheesy porno. I was always talking about worshipping Satan, and I carried a Satanic Bible around in my back pocket so that the title and the Baphomet were just visible. Obviously I didn't actually believe any of that garbage. It was just bully repellent, worked like a charm. But teachers' staff were always afraid that I was going to shoot the school up. I would never do anything like that, and the thought never crossed my mind. Mostly because I was never bullied, because everybody thought I worshipped Satan. Thanks, Satan. Thinking back to my reading of the Satanic Bible, still have it somewhere, shooting up the school wouldn't really be a worry. The idea was to have fun, in a hedonistic fashion, and not turn the other cheek. If some hits you, then kick the crap out of them. I might be wrong though, I haven't read it in about 10 years. Passing notes was against the rules. Passing notebooks was not. We passed the entire notebook between classes. They created a rule that said no passing notebooks. My notebook was confiscated before the rule was announced. I did the only logical thing. Pulled out another notebook and wrote a page-long letter to the principal indicating that because there was no rule at the time that my notebook was confiscated, it should be returned. I also stated that if it was an issue we could definitely contact my mother. I was called to the principal's office to discuss it and my notebook was returned to me. No call to mama necessary. My mom thought she accidentally left her keys with me one day. She called the school to reach me but I had been skipping class and didn't hear my name over the announcements. When I returned to the school to go to my next class, a friend informed me about the announcement so I went to the office to see what was up. When I got there, the secretary asked me where I had been before. I lied and said the bathroom. During my next break, I was summoned to the VP's office to have a chat about my mental health. The secretary thought I had holed myself up in the bathroom for an hour cutting my wrists or something. That was awkward. My lie was quickly discovered. I smuggled frogs home. After it rained there were always a bunch of frogs in the puddles on the playground. My friends and I would always put them in our pockets and lunch boxes because we thought we were saving them. We tried to bring them home and we made a little habitat in a kiddie pool. It had sand and a pond and everything. One escaped in class and the teacher caught me. It did better than the one my mother found in the laundry, though. Reminds me of the scene in E.T. when drunk Elliot frees the frogs. I went to a middle school that would join up with 2 other middle schools when we all went to the same high school. There was a box tops for education competition in my grade, 4th grade, where whichever homeroom collected the most box tops by the end of the year would win a pizza party. Great, right? I played basketball for a team in the other town. They had these boxes in the lobby to collect box tops. So, every week when I went to play basketball there, I would grab a handful of box tops for my class's competition. My mindset was that, since we're all in the same district, the money is all going to the same place, and I wanted a pizza party. My class won. Summer's face in my class overheard me telling my friend about my thievery and told the principal. I got in trouble and had to call the principal of the other school and apologize. The other principal didn't pick up when my principal called and I never had to call again. Bullet dodged, but we didn't get our pizza party. Frick you Jessica for telling on me. For having the same first, middle, and last names as a troublemaker. During English class they called for me to go to her office. Thinking cool I get out of class. Once I got to the office they to wait for her. When she came in she asked what are you doing here you guys called me and I replied. She then told her secretary, is not this one is the other one. I knew this before I got to her office, but I still wanted to get out of class. I once failed a background check to get a job because I happened to have the same first name, last name, and middle initial, as well as birthday and hometown as someone with what turned out to be a pretty serious criminal record. Honestly, why do they even make me put my social security number down if they aren't even going to use it? Teacher and I had just learned I was never enrolled in a class I had been attending for half a year. Teacher didn't know what to do, so he sent me to the principal's office to get it sorted out. In 2nd grade, I drew a picture of Mickey Mouse in gang attire holding a gun and smoking a cigarette. By gang attire the teacher meant a NBA jersey and jeans. She does not like the NBA. Why else would she do that? I fought a kid who insulted my mom. Then a teacher came to pull me off of him while I was holding his neck. My friend decided to help me so he jumped on the teacher's back and put him in a chokehold. As the teacher was trying to get him off without hurting him I punched him, the teacher, in the balls, repeatedly. Grade 4. I hope you still talk to that friend. He is a keeper. I was sent to principal's office and given detention for getting 100% on a math test. Teacher accused me of cheating cause I didn't pay attention in his class or turn in any homework. Ended up I had to retake the test after school while the butthole teacher sat and watched me the whole time. I got 100% again. Teacher never apologized. Frick him. It's not like math is hard. There is one fricking answer. Period. Done. And I didn't do my homework because you made it worth only 5% of the grade, but it was 90% of the work. I could do 0 homework by your rules and still get an A in the class. Dipshit. Why would I do all that pointless work for no benefit? You should write a strongly worded letter to him. Me and my friend came up with this game in middle school during English class where we would throw paper balls at each other and other people. If we threw them at each other and it successfully hit, we would get 1 point. This is where the game got interesting. We would get varying amounts of points for who would get the most payoff when we threw paper balls at them. There was this one kid with a real stick up his butt that we would get 25 points if we hit him because of how apeshit he got. One time we hit him and he literally threw a fit like a 2-year-old and knocked his desk over and started crying with frustration. Most people would be 5 or 10 points because most people didn't care. One day, I dared my friend to throw one at our teacher, Mrs. Manley. Not joking. That was her name. Anyways, he built up the courage all period and finally in the last 10 minutes of class, threw it and hit her right in the face. She was so I thought she was actually going to murder us, but instead she just yelled at us and sent us to the office. Our punishment was to clean up trash for the rest of the day because of the mess we made over that year. He got 100 points for that shot. Totally worth it. Ran around in 6th grade yelling my penis is bigger than yours, prompting one very confident 8th grader to challenge me to a pants down showdown. I did not oblige. He told on me. Little prick. Pun intended. There were these blank booklets cut out in the shape of a bone and I wrote a badass story in it about dinosaurs and extinction. My kindergarten teacher read my story and immediately told me to go to the principal's office. I was kinda confused but it turned out she thought it was so creative I wrote about dinosaurs when every other kid wrote something about a dog burying a bone or whatever. She wanted the principal to enjoy my great story. I on the other hand didn't think it was that great and equated going to the principal's office with doing bad things. Also, why do principals even have time to read random kindergartner stories in the middle of the day? If I was a principal that would be an awesome break from having to do real work. Folding gum wrappers in a U and shorting them in the electrical sockets. Back decades ago when the Plent pack wrappers had a thin coating of foil. But look at me now, I'm a grown-up electrical engineer. Well, at least we can be happy that you didn't end up teaching English or something. At 11 years old, I covered an entire sheet of loose leaf paper, front to back, with pornographic drawings in an attempt to impress some cool kids sitting near me. From BJs, to gangbangs, to horse fricking. What the frick was I thinking? Bro, I didn't know what that crap was at that age. I not only got sent to the principal's office for this but I got suspended for a week. My mistake. Picking up a knife I found in the quad and turning it into a yard supervisor. I'm older so I don't know if they still do it this way, but when I was in middle school they had a boys vice principal and a girls vice principal. If you were a girl and got sent to the boys VP you had done something really bad. I ended up in the boys VP office more than once. Again, I'm older so I don't remember all of the reasons why, but I do recall one time it was because I got mad about a friend being singled out and picked on. So I stood on top of a table in the lunch area and started yelling something about how the students were all a bunch of idiots. I've noticed most current schools in my area, Canada, have a principal and then 2 or 3 vice principals that you get to choose from to talk to. There's usually the laid back guy, the hardness, and the one who doesn't get paid enough for this crap. I lost a kid's Game Boy. I was playing basketball or something in early elementary school and I saw a kid I didn't know playing with it. I promptly ditch the game and my friends to ask him if I can use it. He says yes, gives it to me, and tells me to find him after recess to give it back. Fast forward about 10 minutes. I get bored and decide to give it to one of my friends and run off to play basketball again. I have no idea what I was thinking at that time. It definitely wasn't the best decision I've ever made. Anyways, a couple of days later, I was called down to the principal's office to explain what happened. Couldn't explain, cried, etc. That was not a fun time. A kid jumped on my back, knocking my glasses off and shattering a lens. So I punched him, and while he was on the ground, I stomped on one of his arms. It did in fact break. Elementary school, good times. He broke your glasses, he deserved it. Glasses are freaking expensive. Source, glasses wearer. This kid bit me on the playground, so I shoved him. A teacher saw and put us both on the fence for timeout. She didn't believe that he bit me, so as I was sitting on the fence, I used my fingernails to make a mark where he did. Seemed like a good idea to prove my innocence. Either the makeshift bite marks I made weren't convincing, or she was watching me the whole time. Either way, she was pee and dragged me by the arm all the way to the principal. 1. I used to sell candy and soda in school for a large profit. Teachers weren't happy. 2. Fighting. 3. Telling a teacher to stop spitting on me when he was shouting at me and proceeded to cover my face with a textbook. 4. Stabbing somebody with a mathematical compass in the arm as he flicked ink all over me. My brother used to sell candy and drinks at school. 2. He never got caught, though. The only way my family found out was when he pulled out a wad of cash and gave some to my mum after requesting she got him a burger while we were at the shop. He continued to do it well into high school and made quite a good profit tbh. Once fell out with a friend who I was sat next to. He stabbed me in the knee with a pencil, out of sight under desk. I not as discreetly stabbed him in the neck with mine. Good times. So, I have been sent to the principal's office many times, and most of the time I totally deserved it. This story, however, is one of the few times I did deserve it. When I was in elementary school, there were two elementary schools right next to each other called Emerald Heights and I want to say Silver Ridge. Despite the fact that I was closer to Silver Ridge was so full of students I would have to take the bus to Silver Ridge and jump on the shuttle bus to take me to Emerald Heights. So there was this fuckhead who, let's call him Ryan because that is his name, who was in my neighborhood, who was a complete tattletale who would always get everyone in trouble because he was a prick. And one day, around 5:30 PM or so, Ryan is playing in my front yard by himself for God knows what reason. So I got outside and tell him to get out of my yard, and he tells me no. So I tell him if he doesn't I am going to spray him with the hose. He immediately scampers off, and I tell myself that was a job well done and I have driven the butthead off. Skip to the next day, and an hour or so after school started I get called to the principal's office. Now I am rather confused because I am very confident I haven't done anything bad that they have known about for some time. As I said, I was a problem child, and that is when the principal started asking me why I was threatening Ryan. Now I am extremely confused, because Ryan goes to Silver Ridge and not Emerald Heights like I do. Apparently the little narc ran home, told his mama, who called the principal of Silver Ridge, who in turn called my principal at Emerald Heights for threatening her little baby. So, despite my parents' very vocal protests, I got suspended for threatening to squirt a kid with my hose who didn't even go to my school well after school hours. My parents just let me play video games and drink soda the entire day I was suspended. Overall I give the experience 10/10. Would threaten Ryan with a garden house again. TLDR. Frick you guys, read it yourself. I took the time to write it, so you can take the time to read it. Upvote for the TLDR. My black friend in 3rd grade taught me the N-word and it became sort of an inside joke. Whenever we saw each other, we would say it and giggle. I didn't know the meaning. One day we were lined up to go into the library and I said it to him and the librarian heard me and said, "What did you just say?" I replied, "A word that I thought was funny." Fast forward to the principal's office. She believed me that I didn't know the meaning. My only punishment was the awful car ride home, having to tell my dad after the principal had already called. I stole pins from a teacher's desk and used them to torture bagworms before I was caught. It surprises me to this day that I never killed someone. 1st grade. Everyone loved the Power Rangers. During recess, we played Power Rangers. I was the mighty red one. As we were play fighting and kicking, one of the bad guys came too close, so I mustered all of my red Power Ranger strength, squared up and kicked him straight in the nuts. I was an awkward 7th grade girl with a crush on a boy named Austin who was a huge Guns N' Roses fan. I wanted him to like me, so I bought a circus magazine with GNR on the cover to read at quiet time at school. Sister Mary busted me, and since the magazine had the F word in the article, she sent me to the office. I missed recess for 2 weeks. Austin in Tulsa. Okay, you are so not worth it. Some kid who got picked on a lot tried to sue about 40 kids from his classes for harassment. So we all got brought down to the principal's office in groups. Problem is, the kid started almost every fight he got into. After that year he was homeschooled. Side note, I googled him recently and found he's trying to become a hard Republican politician. Shoulda seen that coming. I was bullied by a group of kids since 3rd grade. By 5th grade I'd had enough and took on 5-6 them in a fight, before a yard duty came and broke it up. Most ended up in the nurse's office. Got suspended for a week but a high five from my dad. Be me in 2nd grade. Grew up on a farm. Everyone used a pocket knife for work. Started carrying one around. Took it to school. Teacher found out. Sent to the principal. Didn't really get in trouble. He just explained why I shouldn't bring a knife to school. Elm School principal was a pretty cool guy. Well, at least that didn't happen today, because you'd probably get arrested. Maybe. I kept hanging on the basketball hoop and the recess lady told me to stop. I flipped her off. I ended up having to write a couple of 100 sentences saying I wouldn't hang on the basketball hoop or flip people off. I just scribbled on pages, including writing some illegible curse words. When I turned in my sentences, they were deemed unacceptable, so the number of sentences went up to like 500 and I had to pull weeds during recess until the sentences were done. I pulled those goddamn weeds and you know what I did with them? I threw them on the roof of one of the modular buildings. I didn't have to pull weeds after that, but I did have to sit against the wall during recesses for the rest of the year. 2 weeks. I found frogs in the cracks of the cement along the wall, so I played with those. They never did get their sentences. Bypassing the school's proxy filters by typing a different address of a different proxy server. Had access to all the game sites they blocked. Teacher caught me hacking and the administration wanted to expel me. Didn't happen, but couldn't use a computer for half the year. Oh man, so many reasons. I was a tough little mother in 3rd grade. I ruled the playground, and everybody knew not to frick with me. It started one day when I got a pack of Skittles from one of my teachers, and I was walking home with them. Then, motherfucking Kenny walked up and slapped the Skittles out of my hand, and something broke inside of me. I took off my backpack, which had hard copies of the first 2 Harry Potter books inside it, and used it to beat the everlasting crap out of Kenny. Then I merrily continued walking home. I had that same backpack all through high school. They don't make them like they used to. Kenny's bloodstains were with me the entire time. After that I went through a biting phase, which was weird but effective. Then it was wall ball fist fights. I would dominate the wall ball courts night and day, until I didn't. Then I would beat the frick out of whoever was lucky enough to beat me. Eventually I won every game, because I'd put the fear in them and nobody wanted to defeat me. The principal's office wasn't that bad, and detention was kinda nice. Actually, they used to take you out of class and put you in a little closet with a chair and a desk and let you color all day instead of being in class. And I actually kind of liked the alone time. Anyway, eventually I laid the beat down on this one kid Nathan that he moved back to Colorado, and after that I was pretty much over it. I think I got all my rage out and now I'm a well-adjusted member of society except for all the bodies in my backyard. JK. Probably. TLDR. Frick you Kenny. I really wanted to eat those Skittles. I used to have consistent diarrhea at school and so I would just leave school because frick school bathrooms. I got truancy but eventually switched to homeschool. Why wasn't I sent to the principal's office is the better question. 90% of my childhood was spent in ISS. My teachers would sometimes write me up the moment I walked into class, even when I was really trying to fix my act, just because they thought I would do something. This would have been understandable if my parents didn't beat the crap out of me every time I received a referral. I was sent a few times. The most memorable was when my girlfriend and I skipped class and had sex in the back of the auditorium. We had an ag class together and our teacher didn't really care. We snuck out, went down the hall to an abandoned auditorium. We never used it. Well, we started getting into it and started making our usual noises. We got pretty loud but thought no one could hear us. Just like in the movies. There was a vent that went straight to the commons. Fortunately for us, our principal and the whole school board was in the commons when they heard my girlfriend go frick me. We had ISS for the rest of the school year. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.